Okay, welcome in, Darmoots. Unfortunately, the internet is not playing nice again today. So, we are recording this rather than doing it live. I will upload it uh, as soon as I get a chance. Apologies in advance because, there's absolutely nothing that I can do about bad reception uh, in the local area, other than just well, actually, really, there's nothing that I can do. The right effort here is just to keep trying, and then see if it works. And which is exactly, unfortunately, what we're going to be talking about today with Kisagotami, right? Keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, and if it doesn't work, well, learn from that not working and maybe do something different. Hopefully that made sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm just off Morocco right now. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started, and then we will, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll get right into it. So, the verse that we're going to be doing today, or the teaching that we're going to be doing today, the Dharma talk, the Dharma reading, and then the Dharma talk, is on Kisagotami. Kisagotami is pretty well known in most parts of the Buddhist world. She has kind of a really bad story associated with her that we're going to talk about in terms of right effort. So when we're talking right effort, when we're talking about how we do things and the things that we're supposed to be looking for, it's really easy for us to sit there and say, okay, well, I meditate, I show up, well, that's a good start, right? But there's more to right effort than that, right? And we're going to take a look at what the Buddha talked about in terms of right effort and how that applied to Kisagotami in her case. But first, we're going to read her story. And I know that I've gone over this one, at least part of this one, a number of times before. So, Kisagotami's verse starts off with her speaking, remembering all that she attained because of her friendship, because she had the Buddha in her life to teach her, right? Because she had a good teacher, a good friend on the path, and that was what helped her make the effort to get to eventually reach her spiritual goal, right? The sage commended having good friends, for anyone anywhere in the universe. By keeping company with good friends, even a fool becomes wise. Keep company with good people, wisdom increases for those who do. By keeping company with good people, one is freed from every suffering. One should know suffering, the origin of suffering, and its cessation, the Eightfold Path. Those are obviously the Four Noble Truths. A female deity then speaks to, in her enlightenment poem, a female deity then speaks to Kisagotami about essentially the state of being a woman, right, as nuns are. Being a woman is suffering. That has been shown by the Buddha, the tamer of those to be tamed. Sharing a husband with another wife is suffering for some, while for others, having a baby just once is more than enough suffering. And that was Kisagotami's thing. Some women cut their throats, others take poison, some die in pregnancy, and then both mother and child experience miseries. Then Kisagotami herself speaks about the dangers by telling the story of Patachara, who she learned with, right? She learned from, specifically. About to deliver while still on the way, I found my husband dead, right there on the road. I gave birth, before I reached home. The two sons of this wretched woman, too soon dead, her husband dead too, right there on the road. Even while her mother, father, and brother were burned on one funeral pyre. So we talked about this with Patachara's story, right? We talked exactly what that looked like and what that resulted in. And this is Kisagotami saying, she taught me, like, this is her life, and she figured it out, and she taught me how to do this. That's her little callback to Patachara. Then Kisagotami continues about herself. Wretched woman, your family is dead too. Suffering without end has been yours. Your tears have flowed for thousands of births. After living in the middle of a cemetery, the bodies of her sons, now only something eaten, family destroyed, despised by all, husband dead, she reached what is without death. I followed the Noble Eightfold Path that goes to that which is beyond, which is without death. Nibbana is known at first hand. I have seen myself in the mirror of the Dharma. Now I am someone with depravity's darts cut out, with burden laid down. Oh, and then we'll get into that. Who has done what needs to be done. The nun Kisagotami, her mind freed, said this. So, there's a lot of death in that passage, right? There's a lot of death in what she's talking about. And her story, her whole experience was, well, there's a reason why we talk about Kisagotami when we're talking about right effort. And that is the backstory behind it, behind Kisagotami, is before she came into the order as a nun and learned under Patacha, before all of that, she was just a normal woman, just living her life, doing her thing, right? She had a baby, right? Her family kind of hated her to begin with, and so it was pretty terrible to be her with her in-laws, right, living with her husband. And then she got pregnant, and her family was super happy. Like, her in-laws were super happy. And then she gave birth to a son, and her in-laws were overjoyed. And then her baby died. And her in-laws just absolutely drove her bonkers. And, I mean, she'd lost her baby, so she's sitting there with a dead baby, and her, she's sitting there with in-laws that hate her and who are treating her terribly because they're blaming her for her little son's death. And so she just goes, and she gets determined. She's gonna find a way to bring baby back and make everything right with her family, with her in-laws. So she goes and she searches, and eventually she finds the Buddha, and she's holding her dead baby with her, right? She's taking her dead baby with her, asking everybody that she can find, like, how do I bring my baby back, right? How do I make him come back to life? And nobody knows, nobody has an answer for it, because obviously that's not a thing, right? That's really not a thing. So she goes and she meets with the Buddha, and she asks the Buddha, how do I bring my baby back? Like, how do I bring him back to life? And the Buddha, in his wisdom, doesn't say, there's no way to do that, it's impossible, don't bother. Instead, he says something else. He gives her something to do that will teach her, that will show her exactly what he believes she needs to see, which is that, everybody has suffering in their life. Everybody, in this case, she lost her little one, and that was part of her suffering. And to get over that, she needed to understand that she wasn't alone. So the Buddha gave her an effort to make, right? He gave her a thing to do, to go and practice, to go and do. And he said, okay, I will bring your baby back from the dead. I will bring him back to life. I can do that. Arguable, like maybe not, I don't know. Maybe that was that would be probably what we would call a skillful means, which we went over a couple of weeks ago, right? So he says, I can do this. I can bring your son back, right? But I can't do it unless I have a specific thing. I need a mustard seed from a house that has never known death. And Kisagotami is still pretty distraught, and she's carrying around this dead baby, and she just jumps right to it. She's like, yep, okay, on it. I'll go get it. I'll find it. And so, as the story goes, she goes house to 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 the next house to the next house to the next house. She goes to every house in this village, every house that she can find, every house that she can possibly imagine might have a mustard seed. And she goes and she asks, like, hey, do you guys have a mustard seed I can borrow? And everybody, like, the mustard seed, like, this is the cheapest spice on the face of the earth for them at that time, right? Mustard seed was everywhere. You could find mustard in anything, right? You could find mustard all over the place. Super easy, super cheap, right? This is not like finding some kind of exotic spice. This is, everybody's got mustard. And so everybody's like, sure, yeah, we can give you mustard, but why do you want it? Like, she's like, well, the thing that I have to do is I have to find mustard seed from somebody from a house that has never known death. And they're like, oh, okay, well, that ain't us. We have the mustard seed, but we also have death, right? Sorry, not us. We've been there too, right? right? So she would go to the next house, same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing. And eventually, it took her a while, much like when we talked about Chulapanska and it taking him a while, and he had to have this unusual method to help him figure things out. Well, she needed this as her unusual method. That was the Buddha being very good about giving her an effort that was going to show her something really important. And that was that there is no such thing as a house without death. There is no such thing as a house that has never known death, a family that has never known death. Every single person, every single family has experienced death in some way, shape, or form, right? Whether that was a grandpa or a grandma or a cousin or aunt or uncle or sister or brother or mother or father or child, everybody's seen death. Or everybody will see death at some point. If they haven't directly yet, they will, right? And so eventually, she figures out what's going on. She sees that everybody is in the same spot she is, where they've had somebody very important to them die. She sees that she is not alone, and she sees exactly what the Buddha was trying to do there with that skillful means. He wasn't trying to bring her baby back, right? Because that wasn't going to happen. He probably knew that. Like, I'm 100% sure he knew that. That was his skillful means of saying, look, we have to teach her, but we have to teach her a very specific way so that she can figure it out. And Kisagotami understands that she's not alone in grieving, that she is not alone in suffering, and she is able to then go to the charnel grounds and place her baby in the decaying, decrepit corpse, right, at this point. She can put the baby's body in the charnel grounds for them to burn as they would any other corpse. And then she goes back to the Buddha, and the Buddha asks her if she found the mustard seed. And she said, no, because there was no house that hadn't known death. Help me learn, right? And so she becomes a nun in the Buddhist order, learns with an under Patacha, and she is able to understand that, and and to say, he was being that good, like, everybody who said, no, we can't do it, like, no, you can't bring a baby back from the dead, that there's truth in that, there's honesty in that, but sometimes you need a friend, right, who can say, okay, look, let's see if we can do this, we're going to try it a different way, right? Sometimes you need somebody who can come in with that compassion, with that kindness, with that loving kindness, and say, look, we're going to try something else, let's see if it works, right? And the Buddha came in and said, okay, we're going to try this a different way. We have to try this a different way with her so that she understands that she's not alone and that, yes, everybody suffers and every family has known death. She got the message loud and clear. She came into the order. She practiced under with the friendship of her, her good friend, her Kalyanamitta, her Kalyanamitta, right? The admirable friend that she's talking about here, which is the Buddha, who taught her and showed her what she could not otherwise see, right? And so in that case, what she gained from the Buddha doing that is, yes, she made an effort. She made a Herculean effort to try to bring her baby back, and that Herculean effort led, even though it was kind of like misguided at the beginning, led her to a truth, led her to the truth in a way that she was not otherwise capable of seeing. She made the effort, and she came to the truth. And that's, if we're talking about right effort, that's right effort. It may not look like it all the time, and it may not look like exactly what we think it should, but that's right effort. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. Right? So we honor Kisagotami and her unusual learning and her unusual enlightenment experience. And we practice right effort. And sometimes we have to practice right effort ourselves. We have to give very good, very due consideration and be very aware that not everybody is going to learn the same way. Not everybody is going to need the same things. Not everybody is going to practice the same way. And that's okay. As long as that practice, as long as that effort leads them to some part of the truth, so they can develop and grow. Sometimes the right effort is simply pointing people in a direction and saying, okay, let's try this. Or, okay, try this, see if it works. Now, we obviously are probably not at the same level, maybe some of you guys are, I definitely am not, at the same level as the Buddha. So we have to be very careful with that, because am I going to have the same level of awareness, the same skills, the same kind of capacity to see things that the Buddha had? No, I don't have that. And I know that. So I know that I myself, and probably most of you as well, we have to be very careful when we do use those skillful means, right? And we talked about those in terms of the bodhisattvas a while back, right? So there are ways to go about making the right effort using skillful means that will help bring people to the truth, that will help bring people to growth, to compassion, to their capacity to see reality just as it is. But we got to be careful with that, because done the right way, it will be super useful. Done the wrong way, it can lead people down into some very bad places. So let's practice this, but let's be careful with it. Let's practice what we learned from Kisagotami, that sometimes we need that community. Sometimes we need that nice little push that says, go find this, right? Go do this. Sometimes we need that friend, that good friend. And we even talked about this yesterday when we talked about Jack and the Samurai Jack and his struggles to jump good, right? He didn't do that alone. He did that with a whole bunch of friends, right? A whole bunch of good friends who taught him how to do that. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't quick. But much like Kisagotami, right? Some truth was imparted as that effort was made. And when we look at that and we say, okay, let's make that effort and let's help others make that effort. That's kind of what I wanted to go off of today, right? Kisagotami shows us that it doesn't always look the way that we would like it to. It doesn't always look the way we think it should. But as long as we're practicing, as long as we are making that effort to learn and to grow and to do as, to follow the Buddha's guidance on that, we will get to the goal. But it may not look exactly like what we thought it did. And that's okay. All right. With that, I'm going to go ahead and close out, and I'm going to update I will update this and post it as soon as I get to a place that has legitimate internet access. Probably as soon as I get home. Until then, yeah, let's go ahead and close out. Alright, thanks for watching, Darn Boats. We'll see you guys next time.